everyone, this is PapaKenn, and welcome to the first official episode of Discovering Steven Universe. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm basically sort of rebuilding how I'm doing this, coming off from Discovering Doctor Who, because of how short the Steven Universe episodes are, and there's I don't really have the ability to break things down, so many favorites, so many annoyances, music tracks, or anything like that. So I'm going to be, kind of playing it by ear for at least these first few episodes, and also, I'm going to leave out the text for now. If you want me to return the text, let me know in the comments, but otherwise we'll just go forward and, I'll do the best I can, because this is going to be very much unscripted. What I'm going to try and do with these episodes is, I'm going to record these reviews very shortly after watching the episodes, that way it's fresh on my mind. And the first episode is known as Gem Glow. Now, this episode, as I mentioned before, if you watched the pilot episode, episode 0, I had already watched the episode before, but I watched it again, just to make sure I was, remembered everything from the episode. And it's, I think it is a good and effective starting episode, even though we don't really know what exactly the crystal gems are, where they came from, why Steven, has one in his belly button, but doesn't seem to be able to use his powers. It could just be because he's young, I don't know. But I do like that overall the episode is a good introduction. Honestly, although I did like the pilot to an extent, I feel like this episode was, in a way, a better pilot for the show. And the reason is this, and it's probably my favorite aspect of this first episode, and that is, we get a good feel for the different personalities of the crystal gems and Steven. Now, Steven's personality hasn't changed much from the pilot. He's a young boy, very energetic, very outgoing, and he wants so badly to help the crystal gems, to help Pearl, Garnet, and Amethyst in their battles. But obviously he's really young, can't even use his powers yet. But we get a real understanding of, well, not a real understanding, but a basic understanding of the personalities. Like with Pearl. Pearl is very, I would say she's a very serious character. She is more, I don't know if this sounds weird, but she's more like the classical mother figure, almost, I guess you could say, of Steven. Or it's I don't know, the way she talks and just the general vibe she gives off seems to have that feeling to me. Is that, again, she's sort of a very serious, very caring and nurturing, no funny business kind of character. Again, at least in my opinion. But that's the definite feel I got from her. And definitely very, I don't know if hipster-ish is the right word or not, but very, I guess you could say spiritual about things. With the way that she tries to explain to Steven to, summon forth his powers, or how she activates her gem. I found that really interesting, and again, I don't know if that's the right word for it, but almost spiritual, or just very zen, I guess you could say, is the way that she brings about her powers. And then there's Amethyst, who, in the pilot, she was definitely, the almost the troublemaker, doesn't take things very seriously, like she just slipped Steven the hourglass gem or whatever it was. But in this one we get a, further idea that Amethyst is very, not only, just a very free spirit and very goofy, but she's definitely the least, I hope this doesn't offend anyone, but basically, the least classically ladylike character. So, she has that wild child feeling to her, and I like that. Just between Pearl and Amethyst, it's it's a huge contrast there. It's the more motherly figure, the more serious and nurturing figure, against the wild child, seemingly, a character that's, stuck in her teens, or maybe it's in the wild college years, something like that. Again, that's just kind of the general vibe I get from the characters. And even with how Amethyst summons her whip, she's able to summon it whenever she wants. She doesn't even have to worry about it. She doesn't have to do any, big spiritual or movements or getting any kind of mindset. It's just kind of like, well, there it is. So yeah, I definitely like learning that about her character. And then there's Garnet, who I would say she is probably even with, or just about there as far as being a motherly figure against Pearl. So she's more of like the strong silent type, and that's definitely, in my opinion, that's very evident in her weapon, like the gauntlets. And even when she's sort of explaining to Stephen, how to summon forth his gem, or how she does it. It's like, at first it's just, very few words. I can't remember the exact phrase, but then when she goes into, this longer explanation, it's very convoluted and confusing, and the way that Stephen appears afterwards is just, it's perfect for that moment. It's just kind of like, I don't know what's going on. I found that really, really funny. But yeah, long story short, I just really like the way the episode went about defining those features of these characters. That, again, from the pilot, we got a very, very general sense of their personalities, but in the span of, less than 11 minutes, just 3 minutes, maybe a minute dedicated to each character, we got a more defined feeling of who they are, what they bring to the table, what kind of personalities we can expect from them in the coming episodes. And then there's Stephen, who, God love him, he loves to eat, and he loves ice cream. I can agree. I can very much sympathize with him there, or empathize, whichever was more appropriate. But I definitely got more of the feeling that he is, just this young, energetic character. He's definitely the character that most, if not all, young kids watching the show are going to relate to. Because, the general audience for the show is probably right in that age range, which I guess is maybe around 10 or something like that. But then again, it's like, the show definitely has elements to it that works for adults, which I think comes from the crystal gems, and then also characters like Lars being very sarcastic and kind of mean. But yeah, I really do... Sorry, I misspoke. This episode, honestly, has me looking forward to what's coming next. Again, just very brief. It's going to be kind of hard for me to get used to doing reviews of episodes that are each 11 minutes each, and some of these reviews may go on longer than the episodes themselves. I'll try not to let that happen. But, yeah, we got a sampling of the universe that Steven Universe exists in. We got the theme song, which I thought was, the first time I watched the episode, I didn't really care for the intro theme, but especially after seeing the pilot and then hearing a remixed version of the episode, or of the song, it's like, I've fallen in love with the theme song. It's really well done, and it has just a beautiful structure to it, which I really enjoy. As for the episode itself, my overall thoughts are, it's okay. It's a decent introduction. I'm left wanting more. I'm left wanting to be able to find out more about these characters. Why they are there, why they are who they are, like what are their origins, why are they crystal gems, not humans, why is Stephen, again, not able to control his powers. I'm sure all of that will be explained at some point down the line, or at least, in a way explained. And the kind of vibe that I get from at least this first episode, and to an extent the pilot, is that it shares a lot of traits with SpongeBob. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. Is what I was referring to earlier, in that, it's a show it's aimed at kids. Like, it's supposed to be, kids primarily that watch this show, that get the most enjoyment out of it. But at the same time, it has elements that, adults can enjoy. That, you can watch it with your kid, or just watch it as an adult in general and be able to enjoy the episode. And again, even though it didn't have a lot of meat to it or a lot of substance, it was a decent little episode and a nice introduction. Definitely the first episode I would recommend most people watch instead of the pilot. Again, in my personal opinion. But alright, everyone, thank you very much for joining me for this first episode of Discovering Steven Universe. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Let me know if there are any segments for episodes you would like to see other than maybe me listing off my favorites and annoyances. I didn't really have any annoyances, again, other than the fact that it didn't have any substance to it overall. Oh, and the monster was kind of cool. I found that interesting. But, yeah, keep in mind everything I mentioned before, any recommendations you have if you want to see text in the future, blah-de-blah-de-blah. Until next time, everyone, I'm PapaKenn, and I will see you next time on the next Discovering Steven Universe. Later.